Pakistan is at it again, rewriting its own mess, repackaging its failures and rehearsing its favorite act, the blame game. As Kabul burns, Islamabad is busy whitewashing its generals. The new national project giving Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir a clean chit while dumping every ounce of Afghan chaos on Lieutenant General Faiz Hameed, the man who once sipped tea in Kabul like a self-styled kingmaker. Ishaq Dar's latest salvo, accusing Hameed's 2021 Kabul adventure of triggering the current bloodbath, has reignited the civil-military blame festival. But this isn't just a quarrel between khaki jackets. It's a crisis of identity, credibility, and control. Can Pakistan's generals ever admit their own sins, or will they keep laundering history to protect their thrones? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. For decades, Pakistan's Afghan policy has been written in the ink of duplicity, jihad for depth, diplomacy for dollars, denial for damage control. From the ISI's Soviet-era experiments to the Taliban's rebirth under its shadow, Pakistan's fingerprints are everywhere. Now, as terror bites back and the Taliban Pakistan bleeds Pakistan, the establishment wants to turn one tea photo into a national scapegoat. Faiz Hameed's visit is the new national excuse. But can Islamabad really wash away 4 decades of strategic miscalculations by blaming one man's cup of tea? It was meant to be symbolic. The ISI chief casually sipping tea in Kabul days after the Taliban seized power in 2021. The world saw confidence. Pakistan saw triumph. But behind that smug smile, history was already brewing its revenge. The Taliban's return, aided by Pakistan's silent applause, unleashed what the generals feared the most, the rebirth of TTP, the monster they had buried but never killed. When Ishaq Dar quipped that Hameed's engagement or the cup of tea came at a great cost, he wasn't exaggerating. The cost has been paid in Pakistani blood. Dozens of soldiers dead, cities rattled, borders burning, and yet, instead of rethinking its policies, Pakistan has chosen to rewrite the narrative. Faiz Hameed is now the villain, Asim Munir the savior. The system remains the same. It's not an investigation, it's image management. The Pakistani establishment is desperate to shield Field Marshal Asim Munir, whose tenure has been haunted by a violent resurgence of militancy and a diplomatic deadlock with Kabul. So the formula is simple. Shift the blame to Hameed. Pin every blast, every bullet, every border clash on one man's 2021 adventure. The army's loyal mouthpieces have begun the chorus. Hameed's Taliban outreach failed. Hameed emboldened radicals. Hameed underestimated the TTP. Meanwhile, Munir, the disciplined reformer, is portrayed as the man cleaning up his predecessor's chaos. It's a convenient fiction. But in Pakistan, fiction is often the foundation of national policy. To understand this drama, rewind to the 1980s. Pakistan turned itself into the world's jihad factory, channeling American dollars and Saudi ideology to fuel the anti-Soviet resistance. The ISI learned one lesson: control Afghanistan or lose your strategic depth. When the Taliban rose in the 1990s, Islamabad, or particularly Rawalpindi, backed them as friendly rulers who would keep India out. The logic was crude but clear. A pliant Kabul meant a stronger Rawalpindi. That playbook survived 9/11, the US invasion, and every regime change in Islamabad. Even as Pakistan joined the war on terror, it never stopped playing both sides. By 2021, when the Americans fled and the Taliban returned, Pakistan thought it had won the long game. But that victory aged faster than a bad brew. The Taliban Pakistan wasn't born in a vacuum. It was the spiritual cousin of the Afghan Taliban, trained in the same madrasas, nurtured by the same ideology, and emboldened by Pakistan's selective blindness. After the Taliban's takeover in 2021, those fighters came back with a vengeance. The prisons in Afghanistan opened, militants rejoined their comrades, the bloodshed resumed. From Khyber to Balochistan, ambushes returned. The message was clear: Pakistan's pet project had gone rogue, and that's where the establishment hit panic mode. Enter Ishaq Dar, the seasoned politician with a knack for uncomfortable truths. When he publicly linked Faiz Hameed's Kabul visit to Pakistan's militant crisis, it wasn't just a political jab, it was an institutional earthquake. For decades, politicians have whispered about ISI's Afghan experiments. Few dared say it aloud.
गलती ये है कि 20-21 की हुकूमत जब आई तो उसको हमने इतना ज़्यादा पाकिस्तान, मैं किसी को ब्लेम गेम में नहीं पढ़ना चाहता आदत के मुताबिक, पाकिस्तान ने इतना ज़्यादा आउटरीच कर दिया कि वहाँ जाके हम कहते हैं जी आई एम हेयर फॉर ए कप ऑफ टी। अल्लाह सबको मुश्किल आसान करें, लेकिन वो कप ऑफ टी हमें बहुत महंगा पड़ा। उस कप ऑफ टी ने पूरे बॉर्डर्स को दोबारा खोला। यहाँ से जो भागे हुए 35-40 हज़ार तालिबान थे वो वापस आए, और उस वक़्त की हुकूमत ने 100 से ज़्यादा हार्डन्ड क्रिमिनल जिन्होंने सवात में पाकिस्तान के झंडे चलाए थे, जो कि कई सौ लोगों को पाकिस्तान में शहीद कर चुके थे, उनको वापस रिलीज किया। ये सबसे बड़ी मिस्टेक थी। ऐसी गलतियां शुड बी ए लेसन फॉर अस कि हमने आइंदा कम वक्त में गुडविल के तौर पे या एक फ्लो में या एक मूड में ऐसी चीजें जो गलतियां ना वो कौम भुगतती है।
He said what Pakistan civilians always suspected, that the military's strategic depth doctrine had dug the country's own grave, that Hameed's cup of tea was not diplomacy but delusion, and that every drop of blood spilled since has roots in that reckless engagement. But instead of reflecting, the establishment doubled down on the oldest survival trick: find a scapegoat, save the institution. Faiz Hameed's fall from grace isn't just about Afghanistan, it's also about domestic politics. He was once the darling of Imran Khan, the power broker behind PTI's rise. Today, both men are out, replaced by an establishment eager to restore order and erase memories. By blaming Hameed for the Afghan fallout, the current leadership achieves 3 goals. Deflect accountability from Asim Munir's own failures against the TTP. Discredit Imran Khan's era, painting it as reckless and rogue. Preserve the army's institutional myth that generals don't make mistakes, only individuals do. In Pakistan, the system doesn't fail, people do. And when people fall, the system survives. While Islamabad debates blame, the border burns. The Taliban regime, fed up with Pakistani airstrikes and blockades, is threatening retaliation. Cross-border shelling has already claimed lives. Trade routes are choked. Afghan civilians are dying in Pakistan's so-called anti-terror operations. The irony? Pakistan once claimed to be Afghanistan's protector. Now it's bombing its neighbors' soil and closing its crossings. The Taliban government in turn accuses Pakistan of arrogance and duplicity. The Doha and Istanbul talks were meant to cool tempers. Instead, they exposed deeper rot. A ceasefire has been signed. A verification mechanism is being discussed. But the truth is simple: peace built on lies cannot last. Enter Turkey and Qatar, eager to play peacemakers. Ankara dreams of reviving Ottoman influence. Doha loves being the middleman of the Muslim world. Both have inserted themselves into the Pakistan-Afghanistan drama, hosting meetings, issuing statements, and pretending neutrality. But even their joint communique from Istanbul betrayed the farce. It bizarrely listed them as parties to the ceasefire, though they're not even combatants. Clearly, the document was written to please Islamabad's narrative: Pakistan as victim, Afghanistan as violator.
Will there be an outbreak again? Inevitably, there will be. And since the TTP are unlikely to give up on their efforts here to destabilize Pakistan, inevitably there will be further times when there is exchange. But both sides, I hope, have learned from this how quickly it is to lose control of the situation. This was really getting out of hand, and it needed mediation. And this is where Doha has once again played an important role. But quietly, without having to say anything, the Chinese, I'm sure, have counseled that there be a de-escalation. The United States has as well. Nobody gains here from having a destabilized Afghanistan-Pakistan border.
Behind the diplomacy lies desperation. Pakistan wants the border open, trade resumed, and international optics managed. But Kabul wants respect, not lectures from a neighbor that spent decades trying to control it. As the talks resumed, Pakistan's Defense Minister Khawaja Asif delivered his signature warning: if dialogue fails, there will be war. War? The word that Pakistan uses as punctuation whenever diplomacy fails or falters.
This was very clearly, spelled out that there won't be any incursions and TTP will not have any facility on their soil. We kept on repeating, and obviously they deny it, but in an implied way, both the countries, Turkey and Doha, Qatar, they pressed upon them that this is the main bone of contention, that your territory or your patronage or your support is there for TTP to operate in Pakistan. So we told them that this is something which everything hinges on this one clause. There is no timeline to it. We just extended it. There was no timeline that we'll watch till such and such date and then extend. It's we are at the moment we have a ceasefire agreement.
But war with whom? The same Taliban it once nurtured? The same regime it once funded and celebrated? The irony burns brighter than the border fires. Asif's rhetoric plays well on TV but hides the obvious. Pakistan cannot afford another war, not economically, not militarily, and certainly not diplomatically. Yet, the very threat reveals Islamabad's mindset: coercion over compromise, intimidation over introspection. Can Pakistan ever learn that real security doesn't come from bombing your neighbor? It comes from stabilizing your own home. Behind every bullet and border clash lies another invisible war, the war of narratives. Asim Munir's camp paints him as the reformer cleaning up Hameed's chaos. Hameed's supporters see him as the fall guy sacrificed to protect the system. Civilian leaders, meanwhile, watch from the sidelines, waiting to see which general blinks first. This internal feud isn't about ideology, it's about ownership. Who owns Pakistan's failures? Who gets to rewrite them? As Munir tightens his grip on the army and politics, Hameed's name becomes the perfect lightning rod, blamed for everything from TTP attacks to foreign embarrassment. Yet the truth remains: no general acts alone. The Afghan playbook was not one man's idea. It was the doctrine of an entire establishment, a doctrine that refuses to die. Ishaq Dar's comments have done more than spark debate. They've torn the curtain off Pakistan's civil-military imbalance. Once again, elected politicians are pointing fingers at the generals who act as shadow rulers. Once again, Islamabad's democracy is reduced to theatre scripted by the barracks, performed by the parliament. The Afghan debacle has become a mirror reflecting the rot within. For decades, Pakistan's policy has been dictated by generals with short-term vision and long-term denial. Every time it backfires, they find a new fall guy. This time, it's Faiz Hameed. Next time, it will be someone else. The pattern never breaks, it only repeats. While Pakistan argues over who to blame, its citizens are paying the price. In 2024-25 alone, over 2,500 people have died in terror-related violence. Border economies have collapsed. Refugee flows have intensified. The China-Pakistan economic corridor faces disruptions, and yet the leadership seems more focused on saving face than saving lives. The ISI blames the Taliban blames Pakistan, the people blame everyone. The cycle continues.
हुकूमत को चाहिए कि अपने शहरियों को तहफ़्फ़ुज़ फ़राहम करे और यकीन दहानी कराए कि जो भी मामलात हैं वो अफ़वाम व तफ़हीम के साथ हल किए जाएँ और उनको मुज़ाकरात के ज़रिए हल किया जाए टेबल पे बैठ के। किसी भी मसले का हल जंग कभी भी नहीं होती, जंग सिर्फ़ नुकसान होता है दोनों तरफ से। तो हुकूमत को इस अमर की ज़रूरत है कि वो अपने शहरियों की भलाई के लिए, सेफ्टी के लिए इक़दामात करे और ये सारी सूरत हाल को मुज़ाकरात के ज़रिए हल करे।
The latest Istanbul meeting, attended by Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkey and Qatar, was supposed to seal peace. Instead, it exposed hypocrisy. The monitoring mechanism Pakistan demanded sounds more like a leash, one that Kabul refuses to wear. Yes, there will be another statement, another promise, another round of photo ops, but nothing will change until Pakistan changes the script, until it stops seeing Afghanistan as a pawn, until it admits that strategic depth has only created strategic death. Every ceasefire signed without sincerity is just a pause before the next explosion. Amid all this, one detail enrages Islamabad more than any border clash: India's re-entry into Afghanistan. While Pakistan fumes, New Delhi quietly upgrades its mission in Kabul to an embassy, signaling renewed engagement and influence. For Islamabad, this is the ultimate nightmare, the very scenario it spent decades trying to prevent. And ironically, it's the direct result of its own policies. By alienating the Taliban and alienating itself, Pakistan has opened the door for India to step in. It's poetic justice and geopolitical karma. Today, Pakistan stands at a crossroads it has crossed too many times. One path leads to introspection, the other to another cycle of war and denial. Khawaja Asif's warning of war isn't new. It's the same tired refrain that has haunted Pakistan's foreign policy for 40 years. From the Soviet war to the American one, from Taliban to TTP, Pakistan's Afghan adventures have only brought instability home. The guns may go silent in Istanbul, but the real war, the one within Pakistan's power corridors, is far from over. So the question isn't whether peace talks will succeed. The real question is, will Pakistan ever stop fighting itself? The story began with a cup of tea. It ends with a river of blood. Faiz Hameed may be the face of failure, but he's not its author. The system that created him still runs unchecked, protected by propaganda, polished by politics, powered by paranoia. Asim Munir's clean chit may clear him on paper, but on the battlefield, in the markets, at homes of the fallen, the verdict is already written. The Afghan crisis isn't just about Kabul's defiance or Hameed's missteps. It's about Pakistan's addiction to denial. And unless that addiction breaks, there will be no end to this war, not with Afghanistan, not within Pakistan, not in our lifetime. Thank you for watching Statecraft.